On 3:20. For if our hearts condemn us, God is greater than our heart and knoweth all things. Alright, good job, guys.
I told some of the kids that we are having a story this next 4 weeks. Our story is about a woman. It's about a lady. Almost all of our stories are about men, aren't they? About kings and soldiers and prophets and priests. But our story this week is about Esther. How many's ever heard the name Esther? Anybody know what the name Esther means? Do you know? What do you think, Mrs. Case? Well, maybe in Hebrew. In Persian, which is where Esther was from. She was from Persia. It means star. It means star. So, we're going to learn about Esther, and we'll just see the beginning of her story this week. Now, how many of you girls, how should I ask this? You guys know that sometimes they have contests for who's the most pretty, the prettiest girl. Have you ever heard of those contests? Yeah. Beauty contests. And people enter them to see if they can be at the county fair or the most beautiful in the whole world. Well, in our story today, there was a beauty contest. You didn't know there was a beauty contest in the Bible, did you? Well, there is one, and I'm going to tell you about it today. In the land of Persia, now we know about Persia, don't we? Yeah. Right? We know, we've been hearing about Persia. The Persians were the ones that conquered the Babylonians. And the Babylonians were the ones that took the Israelites captive, right? Let's see here. We have Israel here. And the Babylonians came and captured the Israelites and took them back to Babylon here. Now, why were the Israelites taken captive to Babylon? Why couldn't they just stay in their own land? Jayla? They were disobeying God. That's right. They disobeyed God. So they disobeyed God over and over and over and over and over again. And finally God let the Babylonians capture them and take them to Babylon. Well, after a long time, the Israelites, they couldn't just move wherever they wanted to, but they could own a house, and they could have a business, and they could do things that they wanted to, just not move wherever they wanted to. And in our stories the last 4 weeks, we heard about a king that gave some of the Israelites permission to go back to Jerusalem and build the temple and build the walls, right? You remember who was the two men who's got books of the Bible written about them that were in our story the last 3 weeks. One starts with an E, and the other starts with an N. Jayla, tell us the one that starts with an E, because you already said his name earlier today. Ezra. Remember? Ezra? And he taught the people. Do you guys remember the name of the man who helped the people of Israel build the walls of Jerusalem? We don't remember his name. Ezra, and then there was Nehemiah. Remember Nehemiah? He's in the Bible. So Ezra and Nehemiah and others, they left Babylon. They went back to Jerusalem, and they built the temple, and they built the city of Jerusalem. But some people, they stayed where they were. In fact, some of them were in very important government positions. In fact, Daniel the prophet, he was one of the rulers of the whole empire. Well, you see how big this empire is? This is the Persian Empire. This is Babylon here. It goes all the way as far as India. Now, if you don't know your geography, you might not understand this, but the Persian Empire went from India all the way through Babylon, through Israel, all the way past Egypt, all the way to Ethiopia. It went up here, all the way into past Turkey and into Macedonia. The king Ahasuerus of Persia, he ruled over 127 provinces. 127 provinces. He was a great king over a tremendous amount of land, but he wanted more land. See this little country here, Greece? He thought, if I could just get all the way to the coast there, then I would have all the land that I want to have. So he thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get all the rulers of my provinces and all the generals in my army, and I'm going to have them to my palace, and I'm going to show them a good time. We're going to have a big party. We're going to have lots of food and lots of drink and lots of music and lots of programs and I want them to see how great my kingdom is, so that they will give me money from the provinces, so that they will send me soldiers from the provinces, so that we can go and fight against the Greeks and take over that land. So he had this huge party, big feast. In fact, the Bible says the feast was 180 days long. 180 days long, that's 6 months. Could you imagine having a party for a holiday? A party with food and drink and shows and music for 180 days straight? Wow. King Ahasuerus, they just had everything. And the party went on, and he was starting to think, I think I've got all of them on my side. I think I've got all of them going to give me more soldiers and more money so that we can go and fight the Greeks. Finally, in the last 7 days, he says, I want not just the rulers of the provinces, not just the generals of my army. I want anybody who lives in the palace, anybody who lives in my city, just anybody, common people, can come and have the food and the drink that we've been having. And so for 7 days, everybody was there. And you can imagine, they were partying. And the king was drinking, and he drank so much, he must have been very drunk. And at the end of the festival, he said, I think this would be a really fun thing to do. He told one of his assistants, several of his assistants, he said, go and tell the queen that we would like her to come before us and show us her magnificent beauty. Now, that sounds like a compliment, because she must have been very pretty. But in Persia, the queen didn't just go out there and stand and show people her beauty. That's what slave girls did. That's what dancing girls did. The queen would never do something like that. Especially for common people, that was an insult. The king had humiliated her by asking her to come and act like a dancing girl or like a slave woman before all of his nobles and generals and the common men of the city. And the queen sent a message back. I can imagine, she looked just like this. She said, I am the queen of Persia. I'm not going to do that. That is against everything that I've ever been told to do or taught to do. You tell the king that I'm not coming. What do you think he thought? He had to go back and tell the king, the queen said she's not coming. I don't know if I would want to tell the king that. Well, the king heard that Queen Vashti said no, and the king was troubled. He thought, this is not good. All these people know that I told her to come, and she has not done what I told her to do. And the rulers, the other wise men with him said, this is not a good thing, king, because as soon as women and wives all over, all 127 provinces hear that the queen did not do what the king told her to do, those wives will not do what their husbands tell them to do. And that is bad. Wives need to do what their husbands tell them to do. And that's actually true. So, the wise men, they said, we need to make a law And so they wrote a law, and in the Persians' law, once it was a law, it could not be changed. The law of the Medes and Persians, which could not be changed or altered, they said. And so they made a law that said, because Queen Vashti did not listen and obey the king, she is not the queen anymore. And sometime we will find a new queen for King Ahasuerus. Well, they thought, well, that will make sure that all the wives will continue to obey their husbands like they should. Well, King Ahasuerus, he got busy with his big battle. And he went off to war, and you know what? Even though he had 127 provinces and soldiers from all over his huge kingdom, his huge empire, the people of Greece beat him. They didn't take over his empire, but they did not let him take over their country. And he did not win. And it seems like he came back and he was kind of down in the dumps. And his men must have thought, if only he had a queen, he would feel better. But he doesn't have a queen. He must have thought, I wish Vashti was around here because she was a nice woman. But I had to kick her out from being the queen because she would not obey me. And so they said, here's what we'll do, king. What do you think? Let's have beautiful ladies from all the provinces be brought before you, and the one that pleases you can be your queen. Okay, let's do that. And so the word was put out, and ladies and girls that were old enough, not girls your age, came, and they said, I want to be part of this. And so they were chosen, they were brought, and they came to the king's palace. Now, not before the king, but they came, and they had a special area where they could just be pampered. They could have all the special treatments that ladies like to have until the day when it was their turn to come before the king. And so one came before the king, and the king was like, okay. And another one came before the king, and she was pretty, but... And the next one came before the king. Well, there was one girl that was entered into this contest. And her name was Esther. Now, Esther was different from all the other girls. She was different for a few different reasons. First of all, Esther was an Israelite. What does that mean? She was one of God's chosen people. And Esther was a righteous Israelite. She was a godly Israelite. She did not worship the Persian idols. She worshiped the one true God. Another thing different about Esther is that she was an orphan. What does it mean to be an orphan? Do you guys know what that word means? If someone is an orphan? What do you think? They have no family. Their mom and dad has died. Yes. So Esther was an orphan. Her mom and dad had died. And must have happened when she was very young, because she had a cousin who was older, like a father to her. His name was Mordecai, and Mordecai reared her up, raised her up like she was his own daughter. But so Esther was an Israelite, and she was an orphan, and she was different than all the other women. She was humble. She didn't think, oh, I'm so beautiful, the king will want me. Mordecai told her, you ought to go there and try out for this to be the queen. But do not, Mordecai said, do not let anyone know that you are an Israelite. Now you need to remember that. Okay? It's going to be a week or two before you need to remember that, but you need to remember that Mordecai told Esther, do not let anyone know that you are an Israelite. And so Esther, after the time came, it came to be her turn to go before the king. And the man in charge of all the ladies that had come in, they would get to choose whatever they wanted to wear or whatever. And Esther said, what do you think I should wear? She didn't say, oh, give me the prettiest thing that she thought. She left the man in charge. She said, what do you think I should wear? She was just humble. She wasn't like proud or boastful. And she went before the king, and the king, the Bible says the king loved her. And he chose Esther to be his queen. So, you probably knew that, didn't you? Because that's the way the story is supposed to go, isn't it? Well, Esther is now the queen of the whole land of Persia. I keep putting that upside down. She's the queen in this city of Susa. She's the queen. And since she was the queen, her cousin, Mordecai, he would hang around the palace gates. He did work for the government. And he hung around the palace gates to know what was going on with Esther. Why would he want to know what was going on with Esther? Because she was like his what? Like his daughter. He would want to know what was going on with her, right? So, we are going to see, the Bible tells us, very exciting story. Many different things happen to Esther and Mordecai. And the start is that Queen Vashti said, nope, I'm not coming in there. And King Ahasuerus said, well, you're not going to be the queen. And they looked for a queen for him. And finally, they chose Esther. Now, do you think God knew how beautiful Esther would be? He did. Do you think God knew that Queen Vashti would say, nope, I'm not going to go in there? Yes. Do you think God knew that they were going to decide to let anybody who wanted to try out to be the new queen? Yeah. Do you know what that is when God knows those things? It means God knows what? God knows all things, doesn't he? Now there's a special word that we say, and that is this word right here. How many think they can say that word? Can you say that word? God is right there. Can you see it? Omniscient. Omniscient. God is omniscient. Sometime, maybe in the next week, we'll tell you a little bit about the word science is in there. Can you see the word science in there? Yeah. Sort of. The word science is in there. So, but God knows omniscient. Omni means all. Niscient means, or shent means knowledge. So God has all knowledge. And put that together with what we learned about in last week, or for the last 4 weeks. Not only is he always in complete control of everything everywhere, he knows everything everywhere, right? So we should, especially if you're a girl, you should want to be like Esther. She was obedient to her foster father. She never told anybody that, just like he told her. She was humble. She didn't strut her stuff. She was humble. And everybody should be that way, especially girls. Esther is a tremendous example for us. Okay, girls? And guys? All right.